Okay, so good morning everyone and welcome to the next instalment of Untitled Wednesday webinars. Today we're talking all about maintaining culture and through using tools such as Webex. This is a very informal webinar, so please feel free to fire away questions, to go grab yourself a coffee and have us on in the background. This is an opportunity for us to talk through how we at Untitled have worked to maintain our culture and hopefully to inspire you and to give some tips and tricks on how you might be able to apply some of these methods and tools with your teams as well. So today we are very lucky. We have a wonderful panel. Suzanne, Lauren, Hannah and Sophie will all be taking us through different elements of how you can help maintain your culture whilst everybody is working remotely from home and in different situations. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with Suzanne, who's going to talk all around staying connected and give us a little bit of an insight into what is culture and why it's important. Lauren's going to talk us through how you can use technology to keep things fun. And Hannah will be showing us a little bit of an insight into what it was like to start a new role in the new normal. And then we have Sophie from our people team, who's going to give a couple of pointers into how you as an organisation can help support your people through this time. So without further delay, I'm going to hand over to Suzanne, who will kick us off.
In order to maintain and develop company culture, it is important to stay connected in a way that works for your business. Firstly, I think it's important to understand what your culture is and then use the technology that's available to you to facilitate this culture rather than try and force your culture to fit the technology. For instance, Until's culture is open, we've got a feeling of togetherness, and as you can see from the pictures, we're all very social. One of the ways we've been using technology is for our weekly team meetings. There's company-wide meetings. We have about 200 people who all jump into our Webex and we hear what the CEO or our various MDs have to say, what's happening in the business. We get a chance to ask them questions, and so it's a way that we're all kept up to date and what's happening with the company, even though we're kind of all spread around the country and even the world. We are also using the technology for more social get-togethers, and Lauren will be talking to you about a bit more about that a bit later, about what we're doing. But as I said earlier, it's important to do what works for your team. And as a technology company, we have a fair share of introverts, myself included. And we found that they like to use some of the features in Webex Teams rather than kind of the more traditional videos, such as chat and GIFs, and that's the way they're staying in touch. Talking of GIFs, we're also a fan of the GIFs and images in a marketing team, as we like to keep things light. And we have a daily chat-up scheduled each morning where we can drop in when it fits with our schedule and what's going on. And we talk about what's happening in work, what we've got coming up, and also a bit about our personal lives. And I understand that video calls aren't everybody's favourite thing. They're definitely not mine. But there's some things to love about them. One of the real benefits is the ability to see body language and other non-verbal cues. As you can see from these lovely cheesy ladies on the screen, without even looking at them, without even speaking to them, you can see which one's happy and which one's sad. And that's one of the real benefits of video calls, is the ability to see body language and other non-verbal cues. If one of your team is feeling stressed or down in any way, one of your team, or with us, our manager, will pick up on these cues and reach out to ensure that everything is okay and that you don't need extra support. It's also a nicer way to share happy news, as it's lovely to see someone's face when you've made them smile. And one of the unexpected side effects we have found from video calls and all working from home, it's actually brought us closer because we're sharing more of our home life and we're making us more of a connected and closer team than maybe we were when we were all in the office, which is something that's really surprised me. But I think one of the things to remember in maintaining culture is that these are unusual times and everything's a little bit different. So it's getting that balance right. For instance, I have a 6-year-old at home, and my team and the company are be very understanding about sometimes he'll come in and interrupt when I'm on a call, or he'll want my attention, and it means I've been more relaxed. I'm able to get more work done because I can be flexible around him. Sometimes I'll work a bit later in the evenings or start a bit earlier in the mornings to make sure I'm getting my work done, but there's that bit more flexibility. So I think my overall point is to make sure you're doing what works for you and your team, and using the technology to help that rather than using the technology to try and force what's going on. But that's it for me. I'm going to hand over to Lauren, who's going to talk to you about some more fun and exciting things.
Thanks, Suzanne. So whilst we're all working from home, even if we've got video conferencing to help keep us seeing our colleagues day to day, it can still be quite isolating, and we sat in front of a screen probably for the best part of 8 hours a day. So some can find that still quite isolating. And it can also mean that you're less likely to have those kind of water cooler conversations. So even though we're seeing colleagues in meetings and scheduled catch-ups, it's important to kind of have those off the cuff, kind of catch up over a cup of tea, non-work related chats, so just keeping it social. So I'll go through a few of the things that we found that have worked really well for our team, and hopefully give you some ideas on what might work well in your company to keep things fun with technology. So moving on to the next slide. So first kind of area I want to talk about really is team challenges. So I think probably most of us are taking part in team quizzes with our friends and family on the weekends or in the evenings. But when it comes to a team quiz with your work colleagues, sometimes it can be a little bit tricky trying to get the questions right, engage them for the audience that might be a little bit more varied. Maybe you're not familiar with everyone in the team or the company, if it's a company-wide quiz. So our tips would be try and kind of vary the questions. Maybe not all kind of have to know the answer, maybe a little bit of multiple choice. And we like to get a bit creative as well. So aside from just kind of going out to multiple choice, picture rounds, we've also introduced a scavenger hunt. So the photo here is actually a shot of our team sent off on a scavenger hunt to find various items in the house. So this round, I think, was actually find the nearest cuddly toy. The first person back got the most points, and then points sort of went down thereafter. So a really good bit of fun. There's a real dog in the mix there as well as all the cuddly toys, but it's also a nice way to kind of get to know your colleagues, get to know what's going on in their lives. So for example, other things you could ask your colleagues to go and find on their scavenger hunt might be something they've made. We found somebody had made a painting, so you kind of get to find out a little bit more about what your colleagues get up to in their spare time. And then it's important as well to not forget that we can also get creative. So again, it kind of takes us away from just staring at that screen 8 hours a day, and it's nice to try something a little bit different. So we've introduced and done quite a bit that you'll probably find helpful around drawing, and be it like sketching on paper and holding up your drawings to the team, and then having a bit of a judgment on whose competition on whose drawing's the best. There's also great tools online for Pictionary and other kind of drawing games like that. And in fact, we found using Webex Teams with the chat video, we've been able to bring all of that together into one place, share our videos of the items that we've brought back, share our drawings, and even share on whiteboard capability where we're using that for Pictionary. So, as I say, Webex Teams has been a really good tool for us, but I definitely recommend kind of varying up the questions, getting everyone moving around a little bit, because we're all sat still for 8 hours a day, and we've definitely found the scavenger hunts to be great fun to kind of get everyone moving. Okay, so not only are challenges fun to get everyone thinking, but it's also really important to remember the social side whilst we're all working from home. So if we just go on to the next slide. So ways which we've been keeping it social at Natilic that I think might be useful takeaways. So some of them included a 1 hour challenge. So we challenged our colleagues to fill their hour with activity. So we had all sorts of entries from people doing a kind of regular run down on the seafront, And actually this picture here, somebody in our Australia team enjoying some outdoor swimming, to others painting, spinning as many hula hoops as possible. So yeah, so it's just a really kind of creative way. Everyone can get involved, no matter what their hobbies. And again, it's a nice way to see what everyone gets up to in their spare time, and varies up what they're doing of an evening on the weekend. And it's nice to be able to share those photos, videos, see what everyone's up to in a social space. So if you've got a team chat space, and this is where we're using the technology to really share what we're all doing and keep our sense of social togetherness, is sharing the photos of what we've been up to and the videos, and then everyone can see that, they can comment, reply, and there's an awful lot of banter that goes on with the team and seeing what everyone's up to. Another great idea, so kind of following the Great British Bake Off, we like our bake-offs at Natilic. So we've seen all sorts of creations, so hot cross buns, as on the slide there. We've seen soufflés, ice cakes, cookies, and actually we decided, again, using the technology that we have, we would ask everyone to submit photos of their bakes, and then a video of a family member or someone in their household having a bit of a taste test. So we had that recording of everyone sort of seeing how tasty or not tasty their bakes were, and then we were able to kind of pick a winner from the competition that way. So definitely still getting everyone involved and their partners as well, so keeping it social. And soon after we moved to a fully home-based working, we found that in our team chats and catch-ups, our pets were wanting to get involved with the work that we were up to as well. So everything from cats walking across desks, definitely wanting to get involved in the video chats, to dogs appearing to really take it seriously, like this one here at the laptop. So we just encouraged our team members across the company to share what their pets were getting up to at home, sort of keeping them company in their home office or wherever they're working from. And that's just been really nice, again, just to kind of see into our colleagues' social lives, and kind of get that live as we're working. And in fact, one idea that's not on slides, but I think was really nice, and it's good to remember that the tools that we have at work, we can use those in our personal lives as well. So one experience shared by one of our colleagues was that she wanted to share how to bake a new cake recipe with her sister, not living together. So instead, use the tools that we have with Webex Teams Video, started up a space with her sister, had a video of her baking live in real time in the kitchen, and her sister was able to just ping messages and find out, ask questions, how she was doing something, or maybe how much some particular ingredient weighed. And that's been, that's the lovely way to kind of use the tools that we've got at work, but in our personal lives. So a nice way to keep it social. So overall, I would say our key takeaway for you is to keep things fun as much as possible. Use the tools that you have at work for messaging, as Suzanne said, GIFs and videos, not just for work, use it for social as well. Have a persistent team chat that is just for social stuff, fun stuff, and use it at home. So yeah, hopefully there's some good ideas there for you. And now I'll hand over to Hannah, who is going to share some of her experiences of starting a new role whilst we're all home working.
Thanks, Lauren. So hi everyone, I'm Hannah. I'm a marketing manager here at Natilic. I recently joined, so I'm just going to start off by talking a little bit about my experience. I'm going to move on then to the importance of collaboration tools and how they've impacted my experience of joining a company completely virtually. I'm going to touch on creating a good work setup, so more about how to set up your laptop rather than your desk, but still some good tips in there anyway. And then I'm just going to finish with my top tips and things that I've learned that might be useful to others joining in a similar situation. So I'm good for the next slide. So as I said, I've recently started at Natilic. I started last month, so I haven't actually seen any of my colleagues or team members in person yet. I've only met them on video. I'm a little bit, I guess, apprehensive about starting just because I didn't have a good understanding of how it was going to work, if I was going to be able to create those connections and bonds with my team and my colleagues, whether I'd be able to kind of understand my task and my day-to-day. And there was a slight worry that I'd be left twiddling my thumbs, not really knowing what to do. So they were definitely things that I was thinking about, which I'm sure anyone would be in that situation as well. I think the thing that made it really easy here was their technology setup. I would recommend, if you have anyone who's starting and they're going to be starting virtually, to set up their induction meetings prior for them joining, so they can just come in, get to grips with the technology, have their setup, meet the people that they need to meet, and from there they'll feel a lot more confident and comfortable in their online work environment. So yeah, that's my overall experience. It's definitely been a good one. I'm still meeting people, I'm still learning, but it's definitely not been a negative experience in the slightest, which is great. So how have collaboration tools come into play, and what was their importance? So in a nutshell, they've been ridiculously important. So Natilic use Webex Teams across the business, and it's just been such a key tool that I've used day in, day out, and it's really helped me feel comfortable and confident in my role here at Natilic. So I just wanted to outline a couple of key features that I have found really, really useful, and I think others in my situation would also want to make note of as well. So the first feature of Webex Teams that I use every day is the video function. It really helps, especially when you've never met anyone in person, to be able to see their face and have a discussion with them and be able to bounce ideas off in an easier way than, I guess, on phone or on email. It also helps as well because it facilitates chat that isn't just work chat. Obviously, if we were meeting in person, we wouldn't be only talking about work. So it's nice to be able to see people and have those discussions that you would in a more normal circumstance. Secondly, screen sharing. So I've been doing a lot of induction work with the previous marketing manager, and one thing we use pretty much in all of our sessions is the screen share function. So we'll be able to see each other on video still, just in a smaller picture, and we'll be able to walk through things together. I can see where things live, I can see what she's doing, how it's done, and that's just been really great in helping me understand and find my way around the SharePoint and the setup that we have here at Natilic. Finally, the call and messaging functions. So there's a little icon in the top right-hand corner where you can quickly just call or video someone. So if you have any kind of quick questions, especially the ones that you're slightly more worried about because of their, I guess you could call it, basic nature, you can quickly just call one of your colleagues, call someone on your team, just have a quick check-in, and then you can get on with the rest of your day. And obviously the IM functionality, so being able to just double check things, send across files. And one thing that I really, really like about it is you can send your reaction to messages. So if someone sends you something and you think it looks good, you can just select to send a thumbs up rather than having to type anything out. So it definitely is a time saver and can be quite fun sometimes, to be frank, as well. So my home setup, so I invested, I guess, in a desk and in a mouse and a laptop and keyboard. I'm sure you guys all have that as well. But one thing I wanted to touch on for anyone who would be joining virtually would be the importance I found in organizing your work laptop itself. So a tip, I guess, would be when colleagues show you files and things, on potentially intranets, to save those links, favorite them, make sure you know where they are. And also from the get-go with your emails and with your files, I know some can be more organized than others, but it's really helped with organizing myself, knowing where everything is, and then it also limits feeling lost or feeling confused or feeling a little bit helpless. So if you're starting, I would really, really try and make sure that you're organized from the get-go. That's been really helpful. So just my kind of top tips for anyone starting in a virtual environment, or to make note of if you have anyone starting, if you could let them know these things, because these things would definitely help me. So I'd say that there's quite an information overload because you're meeting so many new faces, and it's usually quite back-to-back in terms of video meetings and calls. I'd really recommend taking a couple of minutes every so often to just get a tea, get away from your screen, kind of absorb the new relationships that you're building and the new information that you're learning about. And additionally, because there's a lot of intro calls and a lot of induction training, I would really recommend blocking time off in your calendar to make sure that you're knowing where everything is, that you can take to do tasks that you need to do, as well as just being able to hunt around to make sure you know where everything is and who everyone is. So giving yourself that time that you wouldn't necessarily give yourself if you were in person. Make sure to ask lots of questions. My team always say that no question is a stupid question, and I'm pretty sure that I've been able to test them on that a few times, but you need to get over the kind of fear of feeling like you're asking constant questions because you're alone in the room and everything is virtual. But really, it helps so much, and especially with the IM functionality, you can just ping something over quickly and get the answer and feel a lot better and move on with what you need to get done for the day. As I previously mentioned, so bookmarking pages and organizing your laptop, that was key. And as well, just going into if you feel confused or frustrated or overwhelmed, which would be quite natural for anyone, not even in this position, just anyone going through the whole change to remote working, be sure to share with your team and your manager. It's been really helpful to have those people on hand to be able to discuss what you're going through because they're going through it as well. And it really helps to build those connections with your team and your other colleagues that you won't be building in person. So yeah, and then finally, just to be social with your colleagues, find time to, give them a call and just have a coffee morning chat or play games with them, doing quizzes and stuff like Lauren has mentioned, because there is a capability with all the video technology and everything to be able to build bonds virtually. So I would definitely recommend making sure that you do make time to do that and enjoy it, because it's a strange time that we're going through, but we have all the technology, and yeah, I've had a really good experience, and I hope you would too. If you have any questions, then do ping them over, and we'll definitely help answer any. But that's all from me. I'm going to move on to Sophie, who's going to give the top tips from the people team.
Hi, thanks, Hannah. Yeah, I'm Sophie, and I'm a People Services Manager at Untitled. My role is all around ensuring that we provide the best possible work experience for our people, so that they feel motivated and are happy in their role. So obviously, COVID-19 has done a very good job of throwing a spanner in the works for my role, along with everyone else's. Prior to these unusual circumstances, I would find face-to-face catch-up super useful to communicate with the teams, and I would think it would be a lot easier to gauge people's moods and for them to solve problems in our approachable office environment. However, I think this time has really proven that we can all be very adaptable and embrace the circumstances in an effective way. So I have put a few top tips from the people team that I think are useful to help maintain culture whilst working remotely. And I think these pieces are particularly relevant now that we've been in lockdown for a bit. So first of all, I would recommend mixing things up. So moving to 100% remote working can mean we get a bit limited on how we communicate and work. This might mean that it begins to feel a bit monotonous and communications might begin to fall on dead ears. And in reverse, you might feel you are less in touch with your colleagues. So are you checking in your team or your colleagues effectively? I would recommend encouraging your workforce to mix up how they communicate. Does your team meeting need a new lease of life and a new structure? Maybe you could have a guest visitor just to mix up your teams. Our CEO, Mike Danson, has put together a monthly question time where everyone is able to submit a question to him, and whether it's what they're interested in or they're concerned about, which has allowed people to see how the executive team are approaching the situation. So it's been a really good idea. Are you checking in with people individually so that they have a chance to express any problems or just have a bit more of a personal chat? Are you having social catch-ups that are not just work-related? All these elements help keep contact, keep up morale, and ensure that the company culture continues to thrive. My second top tip is to encourage your workforce to have their perfect work setup. So Hannah kind of touched on this. And creating your work zone is not only great productivity, but also ensuring that work-life balance. So if you haven't sorted your work zone yet, or the setup you have is not allowing you to step away from work at the end of the day, I would encourage you to rethink how the setup might help you. I appreciate not everyone has a huge amount of space to work with, but maybe you can get creative with it. I've seen some very inventive sort of screens and things that kind of just help keep your people stay in one zone for the work day. Can you divide your work zone and your home zone? Or maybe you just ensuring that you have a social call or time with your family planned at the end of the day. So it just ensures you're able to step away at the end of the day. My third top tip would be making the most of opportunities. So there's probably been a fair amount of press on making the most of the current situation, and something you could try is to encourage this both inside and outside of work. At work, if people have found a drop in workload, then this presents an amazing opportunity to do training and focusing on development. The apprenticeship delivery is fantastic. It takes advantage to take advantage of, and it's got loads of its courses online. And this is something anyone furloughed can do, still take advantage of during this time. Outside of work, I'd recommend encouraging your people to take advantage if they have extra time from not commuting or not going out to try new things. So as already touched on, at Natilic, we have done a lot of charity initiatives lately, which we've used to encourage people to get active, sometimes get a bit competitive, and get creative with what they do outside of work. I think this also provides a really nice, great extra focus, and is really effective for morale boosting. So these are the people team top tips. Thank you.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, ladies. That was fantastic. And we hope that everybody on the call could at least take something away from that, which they might try and implement for their teams, or inside and outside of work, and using the tools that we have and the collaboration tools at our fingertips to make sure that we are, like you say, mixing it up and making sure everybody feels included and supported during this time. We've had a couple of questions come through from during the webinar, so I will have a chat with you ladies and see if we can go through them. Great to hear how you've had some new joiners. Do you have any user guides that we can use? So thinking about obviously the collaboration tools, which Hannah, you obviously were fresh and new to when you started. Yes, we do. So we have some user guides, which can be found on our website at natilic.com under the resources page. But if you would like any specific ones, feel free to reach out to us and we can have a chat with you and maybe have a talk about if there's certain kind of features and functionalities you'd like a little bit of a walkthrough. And this kind of leads into one of the other questions around adoption services. So at Natilic, we do have a whole plethora of different levels and styles of adoption services, especially around the Webex suite and collaboration tools. And people may think, oh, in this time, we can't get everybody in to have a training session, but actually online training, as Soph said, online training is really popular at the moment, and it gives people actually a little bit more flexibility to learn and go through that adoption process and, at their own pace, making sure that they have time to ask questions, to reach out, and also using it a little bit on the job as well.
And I was just going to say that if you are interested in adoption, we do have an adoption services guide. If you contact your account manager or email us at hello@natilic.com, we can arrange for that to be sent out to you for you to have a conversation with our adoption expert.
Perfect. And this might be actually a question a bit more directed to you, Sophie. You might be able to help answer. How are you finding team morale? Have you seen that there's been a bit of a dip in morale?
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think something I was discussing recently was that with the sort of situation, people quite often have really good days and then quite low days, and I think quite often that can be. So just because someone's having a good day doesn't mean that they're sort of having a good time all the time. So I think just checking in with people regularly is the best thing to do. And sort of understanding that there's so many other things going on. People have their families full time, and they're not just that. Some people are by themselves or having very intense sort of relationships where basically they're spending a lot of time at home. So just having that understanding, I think, with each of your people.
Yeah, that's good. I think we've got final question here, which is a little bit more of a technical question in the functionality. How do you get the tile view of the faces on, which I think obviously was a screenshot from our scavenger hunt. Lauren, I don't know if you wanted to kind of talk through how we see that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was using the tool that we use, which is Webex. So within the tool, there are all sorts of options on how you can see the video streams coming in from your colleagues on the call. You can have the tile view just in a couple of clicks on the top right-hand side of the corner of the window. You've got your options. So you can have a tile view there where you see everyone, which personally, as my preference, I really like it because it's a little bit more like you're in the same room as everybody. You can see everyone at the same time. Alternatively, if you prefer, you can actually switch to active speaker as well. So you get a bigger view of one person, but it will be the person who's currently speaking, as well as multiple other views if you're presenting content as well. You can have some separate windows, still with a tiled view. So yeah, really easy, just one button in the top right corner. And again, all that kind of information is found in our user guides. So give us a shout if you need any help finding how to do that.
Thank you. I'm going to squeeze one more question in before we sign off. How frequently are you doing fun activities as a team? So I suppose this is quite, it's obviously very different for different teams, but I think as Natilic as a company, we are quite social. As Suzanne was saying, that is part of our initial culture and always has been. I think it probably will be dependent on how much you may have socialized or were doing activities as a team before, and kind of judging, making sure you take into account everybody's different situations and workloads. But I think it's making sure everybody has the option to get involved. I don't know, Hannah, as someone new to the team, how have you found the balance of frequency of fun activities to work?
I think it's been really good because we have things in our immediate marketing team that are going on. We're always getting involved in different games, I think pretty much weekly or every 2 weeks. But something that Sophie had touched on is that we have meetings with our business units every week. So every week you have the option to drop in for a couple of drinks on a Friday if you want to join in, and that really helps just with keeping the bonds and meeting people. It's just for half an hour, but you can decide whether you want to jump in on that or not. With another team that I have, they also do a coffee morning. So I think it's just about having those, as you said, different options available, and you can pick and choose depending on how busy or how involved you want to get. And you can always make suggestions. I think our team is really great for if you want to suggest something fun to do, they're usually up for it. So yeah, I guess it just depends.
Brilliant. But thank you again, everybody, for your time and taking us through all of the top tips. And obviously, again, just to everybody on the call, if you want to reach out if anything has sparked your interest or you'd like to take a look at some of the user guides, please get in contact with us. You can reach out to your account manager or email us directly at hello@natilic.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you.